Hello and welcome to the Ascension podcast. I am Illura and I'm from the Sacred Gates. Welcome back to the channel. And today's podcast is on the topic of balance. Often we hear the word balance used in many different contexts. And I'd like to explain in my own understanding what balance actually is, especially in the context of meditation. And so balance is really about attuning substances, attuning yourself to substances. Now, when I use the word substance, it's just a word I really like to use at the moment, but it really just means energies, frequencies, vibrations, tones, qualities, textures. And I like the word substance because all of these things that I'm working with within my own body, in my own practice and with clients, and everyone seems to have it, they're really fluidic and moving. And for me, it gives much more of a textural kind of grasp on it and it's what it feels like to me. So when I use the word substances, I also mean thoughts, emotions, feelings, beliefs, anything. Balance is about attuning yourself to substances or energies or frequencies. And we do this by feeling them. Yeah, when we're working out the balance of something, we're feeling our way. Just as when you were learning to ride a bicycle, you can't think your way. You can't read a book about how to ride a bicycle and then hop on a bike and you know how to do it, right? You can't read a book about how to swim and then get thrown into a swimming pool and start swimming. We have to learn by doing. Through experience, we get understanding. And it's the same with balance. Balance is very much beyond theory. You could talk about it all day, but really it's not about talking, it's not about theorizing, it's about riding the bike, getting on the bike, jumping in the pool and learning how to swim. You got to get right there in and do it. And so when we're talking and exploring balance is really action. And we do this by feeling. We learn to ride a bike through feeling the contrast between balance, and I'm out of balance. I find myself in balance, I'm out of balance. And so in this way, balance is really about learning through contrast, and we learn through feeling. So when we feel these substances, we get to know them, and by feeling them, we learn how to navigate our way through them. This is a very important skill, especially when it comes to responding to our own emotions. And I know all of us experience different emotions all the time, and all of us have certain emotions that tend to throw us out of balance more than others. Now, what if you had a practice where you could, a meditation practice, if you had the skill and ability to learn how to move through, navigate, feel, and attune yourself to certain substances such as emotions, difficult emotions that you'd like to get a better handle on, emotions that unbalance you. Imagine if you had the ability to move through these substances and get to know them and navigate your way through them so that they don't completely unbalance you and control you by unbalancing you. So the more we go through the experience of navigating our way through substances, the better skilled we become. For balance is also about refinement, refining through repeated skillful action of feeling and navigating our way through. So balance in this context is really about exploration also. Balance is also about exploration, and through exploring we refine. Exploring the spectrum of various substances. So every emotion, every feeling, every substance every energy, vibration has a certain spectrum. And when we explore that spectrum, we do this by extending our consciousness softly, our bare awareness. Remember, the mind likes to force and control. So we instead really get into that flow of very soft, bare awareness. And when we do this, we saturate ourselves in that substance. Bang, bang, bang. A lot of banging today. And we do this, we saturate ourselves in the substance, and through saturation, we're able to broaden and deepen our awareness. of this substance. We're able to find ourselves in this substance no longer fearful, but instead educated, experienced, skilled, and we're able to balance ourselves. So we don't get stuck and glued to these, just say, difficult emotions that often throw us off course. Once we can unglue ourselves from it, and we do this by going into and merging and integrating and saturating ourselves in this substance, we don't necessarily, we have to become it, but we don't. Often our fear is we'll get stuck in that feeling, we'll get stuck in that emotion, but often it's the lack of connection that allows that fear to permeate and keep us reactive and in the end magnetized to those substances. And in talking about emotions, emotions really are just chemicals. They are substances in our bodies that we feel, and when we feel reactive to them, that's where the problems begin. And it's also, the problem is also the opportunity to grow. So when we saturate ourselves through our soft awareness, we go beyond talk therapy, we go beyond all the chat about it, but really get into the balancing, just like riding a bike. So I encourage you, when you're working in meditation and you're doing energy work, or you're having a crappy day and emotions are just coming up and you're just feeling overwrought, remember what it's like to ride a bike. And know that you're going to have that contrasting feeling between balance and unbalance. And that's what's going to guide you through that emotion. And you can take the time to move through the experience. And if you suddenly go into the experience of any substance, you're going to find that there is a journey there of change and difference, for nothing is permanent. Everything is always moving and changing. Everything is impermanent. And once you're able to tap into that, once you're able to truly, honestly observe that nothing is permanent, then you're going to start observing change and difference. And then you're going to notice that there are gaps. There are gaps appearing everywhere in this flow of impermanence, that nothing is static. Even when you experience a really dense emotion that's really pulls you down to that dense level, when you feel that, like depression, anxiety, jealousy, laziness is very heavy, all these kinds of heavy, dense emotions. When you feel that, you get pulled down deeper and deeper into those. And what you can sometimes feel is that it's so solid, it feels like a brick wall. But we know through science that even a brick is actually full. There's more space in the particles than there is density. And everything, even a solid bed or a book or an air conditioner thing, everything has space within it. And so by tuning in to the fact that there is movement, there's change and difference in that illusion of permanent, solid, hard, rigid emotion, that there's actually change going on, there's movement, there's space, it's not actually static at all. This is a fantastic place to arrive at in your practice, and you can do that by riding that wave, like balancing your bike, observing change and difference. Really notice, is my anger still? Let me observe that and feel. No, it's not. It's actually really, it might be feeling like it's moving slow, but the more I become attuned to my anger, the more I listen to it, I can feel that there's actually a lot of movement in there. There's a lot of gaps in that movement. And what happens when I move through that gap? I'll be doing a video soon, kind of like a meditation to help anybody that's interested in learning this practice. And it is a practice. You can get better at it the more you practice. So, one more thing about balance is that balance is always relative to what you are trying to balance. For example, if you're talking about a balanced diet, it could be that you're having 3 packets of cookies a day instead of 10 packets. Now, maybe to you, you'd be like, that's not balanced. My gosh, that's like a crazy amount of cookies, 3 packets of cookies a day. So if you're already having 10 packets a day and you're now going to have 3 packets of cookies a day, then that is all very relative to your own balance at that time and what your goal is for your new level of balance on that spectrum. So then having 3 packets of cookies a day instead of 10 is a fantastic goal. And to someone who's been having 10 packets, well, that's a very making sense goal to them. It's very logical. So always relative to your own goal. Balance is always relative to your own goal. And I think that's why the word balance, when it's used in many different contexts, but especially the spiritual mainstream, balance kind of loses its meaning. It's a little bit like the word love. You know what I mean? It's like, well, define love to me, what your definition is, because we may have a very different definition, and we also may have very different goals when it comes to balance. So it's all relative to what you are trying to balance. This was just part 1, and now I'd like to do part 2 of a video that's going to help you. The next video, part 2, will help you to tap in and use a substance, and I'm sure it's going to be a substance that you really like, and you can tap into it and use it.